Multi-exclusive dimensional being card with another exclusive. Today's video is about moon in Cancer. So, of course, and we got the sun in Libra. So, when the sun is in Libra for about 30 to 31 days, everybody need to be utilizing their actions in a way of relating. Find out where you got 7th house at in your charts. Find out where you got this in your charts and act out on these niches. Be more relatable, feel me? No matter which way you're doing, make sure you have balance in between. And of course, you got moon in Cancer today too. So of course, when the moon is basically our reactions, basically something that's instinctive, something that we can't see. Only when we go within, we can basically draw that out, and that's what we're doing too with our actions. We are drawing out our inner world to basically resonate with what we see internally. So of course, you may have dreams about your past life, or things that basically dealing with your awake life as far as family matters, ancestors, and dreams and imaginations in these states of pursuits may take shape and form during these days and stuff. You may have weird dreams too of what happened to you previously, especially when you was a child. Feel me? And when we talking about moon and Cancer, Cancer is basically the moon. The moon that basically we all have a moon within us. That's also dealing with the feminine side. Of course, the moon may not really go. The moon doesn't really go hand in hand with masculine signs, so it may be a little bit difficult and hard for some masculine sides, some feminine sides, especially when we're dealing with the moon in Cancer, because it has a certain mood. It has a certain mood swings and changes when we're dealing with the emotions. Because remember, the moon is the most powerful sign, aka Cancer. Also, is the most powerful sign. And the reason why I say that, because the moon is basically picking up residue, it's picking up past experiences and experience. See, now the sun is basically dealing with what's in front of you at the moment. Now, when you got the moon picking up all the actions that took shape and form previously, it's basically holding a whole bunch of weight. So when that moon is heavy, especially if it was to be a full moon, if it's being that it's the first quarter moon. So when we got the first quarter moon here, whatever seeds you was planting as far as with the new moon that previously passed, aka it basically took shape and form to a full moon. Now it's basically decreasing again. When it's the first quarter moon, you'll start to see like intentions that you basically planted with the new moon. You'll start to see these things grow. If you're not seeing things as far as improvement, don't get mad, don't get angry. Feel me? Shit takes time. You just got to put a little bit more work into yourself and have more motivation and no discrimination during this time. Feel me? Your seed is planted. Feel me? Your seed may be perished, your seed may be ate up, but at the end of the day, when that new moon comes, you want to make sure you put in a whole lot of work. So when that new full moon comes, especially during Halloween, you'll start to see your fruits and labors grow. But yeah. So when we got the moon in Cancer, you're gonna be reacting, responding to home matters, private matters, and whatever you want to manifest in life. Utilize the words "I care," or basically utilize it in your actions. And whatever you do, try to like put yourself in a circumstance situation and try to act out the natures of caring about certain things that you basically reflect or basically into. And it may be difficult for a lot of people to may not basically express it, especially during this time. But at the end of the day, it's not about what's going on outside of you. Feel me? As far as other people's agenda, this basically is about you and you only. So you got to be careful, very mindful where you putting your energy towards. Basically, you putting your energy towards shit that don't, shit that's not gonna basically help you grow into a bigger circumstance situation, or shit that may not. So you got to basically be aware and be very conservative about what you're paying attention to. So yeah, now about to run down these houses. About to run down these signs. So of course, first opposition is basically gonna be Aries. So you know, Aries and Cancer don't get along because for me, Cancer is like very nurturing, very caring and shit. Aries do this more in an aggressive way. Cancer will look at it like something not right. So we got this in Aries. This is basically a square right here. So you're gonna be dealing with impatience with other people, places, and things not going along with your flow. Feel me? They may love you, but they may look at you like you're too aggressive, too passionate and shit. Some people may agree with this depending on how they natal charts go, and some people may not agree with this during this time too. Also, you may pretty much been in a circumstance situation in your previous life, or basically in your awake life when you was a kid. You might have issues with being in a violent home matter or a disruptive home matter and shit. You may have impatience. You may have that you didn't really have enough time to basically grow up and put yourself in circumstances, situations to express your passion and shit. So it may be difficult during this time, but basically psych yourself up for me. Try to like look at things on the bigger perspective and try to like love something that you value and shit. If you got a moon in Aries, people, places, and things, it's gonna be basically throwing this energy right back at you. Because remember, the actions got to be put out from Aries, and the moon is gonna basically receive what's basically being put out in some way, shape, or form at a travel. Second house is basically dealing with satisfying natures as far as home, comfortability, home and security, emotional debt can also play a circumstance situation too. Because if you feed into guilt and worriness, it can basically fuck with you. Especially, like worriness with health and stuff like that. Also, when this plays out where you may eat too much or you may overindulge, especially if you got this in basically Taurus too. You may over play out these natures. So basically, be very aware of what you're doing and shit. For me, it's cool to basically sit back and get basically in tune with yourself. Be a little bit more imaginative and shit. Take values. Try to utilize. Taurus don't really like utilizing that imagination as far as circumstances, situations that play out. I mean, they're doing it more with their senses. For me, they five senses, the spider senses is tingling. So they try to basically do it in this way or this perspective. But try to utilize your imagination to the best of the ability. For me, because the moon is basically dancing with imagination, basically intuition. So whatever you want to basically bring into your value and possessions, this is a good time to use your imagination and put this into caring mode. Act like basically psych yourself up to the circumstance situation of you already having these things. So these things that basically play out in your life, no matter which way you look at it. You may not have a car at this moment. You may not have a house at this moment. Be like, oh, it feels good to care about this house. I mean, the more energy you basically ride out, you're building yourself into a circumstance situation that you're gonna basically hold in on this manifestation in some way, shape, or form. If you got a moon in Taurus, people, places, and things is gonna be reflecting this right back at you, gravitated towards your way. When you got this in Gemini, basically getting in touch with your feelings and with your surroundings and locations is very important during this time because you could be very moody, feel me, but you need to be more introspective during this time. You need to basically relate and be more caring during this time, feel me. Don't be too emotionally raw and shit, especially depending on when you mature and shit. These things like reality might just come at you a different kind of way, and you may not basically express these things. That people may look at you in some way, shape, or form that you may not owe. You may not show too much passion or pity towards them and shit. You're not really too open to them. So basically, try to be more caring and shit. Maybe you wasn't born. Maybe like you had issues in circumstance situation, but you didn't really have too much emotional care. Everybody was people, places, and things was just too left brain, logical, rational. Which a decision you wasn't really based on upon feelings and emotions. So something that just need to be worked on, especially when you getting through this circumstance situation, whatever you want to manifest. If you got this moon in Gemini, you're gonna be receiving this reflection right back at you in a circumstance situation. Fourth, when you got this in Cancer, you're gonna be basically reacting and responding to home private matters as far as family, ancestors, past experience with your parents and shit. You may not want to leave the nest during this time, feel me? Or you may care more to be with your parents or relatives during this time and basically act out these natures. Or you could be overprotective too. So, one day you're gonna leave the nest, feel me? Or it's just basically you might be in a circumstance situation where you might just care to feel the need to basically pop up at your mom's house, feel me? Or you may just catch memories about the circumstance situation, or somebody may have previously passed away. It may come out. You may dream about this shit during this time. So it'll play out into these natures. Try to find self care and know that your ancestors is always gonna be there for you to help with you, basically lead you into the right path. But you gotta have courage and faith. If you got a moon in Cancer, you're gonna be receiving this reflection right back at you as far as these actions thrown back at you. It'll remind us about family matters and home life matters and basically people you had experiences previously. Fifth, Leo. It's basically dealing with self expression and utilizing the care with your self expression. For me, you don't want to try to basically put yourself in circumstances, situations where you basically be stagnated. Feel me? Family members may not have time for you to basically develop yourself and freedom to basically express yourself during this time. So basically doing it in a way of where you can find care. Try not to be too sensitive stage, but basically find ways to basically utilize yourself as being seen. For me, you may have a lot of ancestors basically that seen you as someone that you could basically be as a star or a celebrity or somebody that you may present yourself during the coming up years. So for me, don't lose focus. Basically, have care in yourself and have respect in yourself as far as self dedication and motivation. So things that basically play out to your favor. If you got this moon in Leo, people gonna basically be reflecting this right back at you as far as a picture of a reflection as far as what a Leo is showing up. His actions. When you got this in basically Virgo, this is basically dealing with criticalness, over being overcritical as far as caring about circumstances, situations, being more helpful and shit. Try to basically have more love and care and more sorrow for yourself. For me, everything don't need fixing. Try not to be too over analyzing during this time. For me, it's a compatibility here, but for me, it's one thing to basically be self critical about circumstances, situations. Everything ain't your fault. For me, everything ain't your fault. For me, you gotta understand that shit. You gotta have self love and self care, self respect for yourself. For me, people appreciate you too. Remember that shit. So you don't want to basically be unappreciated. Basically, depending on how your actions, because what you're throwing out is what you're gonna receive. So try to be more fluent with yourself and basically let the rivers flow during this time. Sit back, relax, and basically find something to care for and value, something that you love and appreciate. Feel me? Just cool it. If you got a moon in Virgo, you're gonna receive a reflection of this right back at you. Libra, basically you're gonna be dealing with private matters as far as balance with self care, and of course this is gonna be a reflection too, because you may have been equipped with this with your home private matters. Every person, place, or thing doesn't need to be looked at as far as a comparison or something that you need to be competing for. For me, as long as you have self care and self love for yourself, and you basically can push this right back out with a balanced perspective, you won't have to worry about being overcritical about yourself or basically worrying about the circumstances, situations, of being attacked in certain ways. For me, everything will play out to your nature as far as you have belief and harmony in the way you present yourself towards other people, places, and things. Things will go smooth. If you got a moon in Libra, other people are going to be reflecting this right back at you as far as what you're pushing out if you're being a Southern Libra. Now, basically, when we're talking about Scorpio now, basically, this is an opposition too. For me, you may be in a circumstance situation of not showing love and losing certain things as far as people, places, and things, and intimosities or things and groupings. Feel me? Or you may have dark care during this time. You may basically been the black sheep of your family or some shit. So you want to make sure you put yourself in a circumstance situation, be looked at as far as might cook dinner, might cook breakfast for somebody today, as far as like being more care. I mean, they may look at you like you're crazy, but at the end of the day, if you could do something that'll basically recite their mind up and look at you differently, that'll be good. If you got a moon in Scorpio, this will basically be a reflection. Especially this is an opposition too when we're talking about Jupiter, aka Sagittarius. This is opposition. So basically, traveling and morals and love and restrictions and principles as far as beliefs is something that you basically need to basically aim towards, because you're not gonna love staying in one spot. Sagittarius don't like staying stagnant. They like to move around, get around. So it may be different during this time. So if you got a moon in Sagittarius, you're gonna be seeing this reflection. Capricorn, basically, this is an opposition too. You may have burdens and restrictions and difficulties and the responsibilities at a young age basically be thrown at you. Feel me? You may not care for certain circumstances, situations like this, but get a lot of rest and a lot of sleep and things to play out into your natures. You got a moon in Capricorn, you're gonna be receiving this energy right back. Aquarius, this may be changes, especially you may have divorced parents or you may be getting a divorce during this time. So independency and emotional freedom is basically a key. Make sure you basically utilize to the best of your perfection. If you got a moon in Aquarius, you're gonna see this reflection. Last but not least, Pisces. Basically, this is a trine, so secrets and shadiness may be something that you care of during the time. Basically, you may reevaluate. People, places, things may treat you incorrectly. Especially, they might hate on your dreams, or they may not be a fan of your dreams and shit. But basically, care about your dreams and basically care about your possessions and have more energy, have more faith within yourself, and things that play out into your nature. Because you got a moon in Pisces is a reflection too.